So today's episode, I am joined by Dianne. What a story she has in general. She has climbed Kilimanjaro. Just to touch a couple of things, she is bringing a new company to the forefront that is basically a molecule that 6 billion people will need. She has just got an amazing energy about her and just some badass stories of life and love and just some aha moments. And there'll be so many times through this you'll go, because I know I did when I was watching it. So hope you enjoy. And as always, if you are enjoying this podcast, please subscribe and comment and leave us some feedback. Thank you. Hope you enjoy. Well, hi, Dianne.
Hi, Michelle.
Welcome today to my podcast,
Thank
The
you.
Whole Hogg. I'm so excited to have this genuine, open, heartfelt relationship and podcast chat with you today. I can't wait. You're so interesting, honestly.
It's such an honor to be here and to have this time with you. And I love your podcast name. I think it's fantastic. You did a great job.
Thank you. I did get some help, I would say, from the universe. It definitely directed me that way when I was asking for some guidance, like, what's it going to be called? And it just popped into my head, like it got dropped in, and I was like, aha, thank you. That's
Yeah,
exactly what it's going to be called.
that's
Because I want to have conversations, not just on one topic, covering everything and anything in life. So yeah, thank you.
it's I love what you're doing with your podcast, Michelle, in just having these heartfelt conversations with people, seeing where it goes, because there's so many tidbits on what can help others. But just bringing the light to the world and what you do with these conversations is so needed. So thank you for your work.
Oh, thank you. And I hope so. And the conversations that I've had already, they've been so different, which is lovely. Everybody's already, and I've done 4 of them. You're now number 5, and it's been lovely hearing different people's, walks of life and where they've been and how that shaped them and what they've decided to do for work. And it's really, really fascinating. I just love it. I love listening to other people's journeys through life. I think it's one thing I think everybody's got a common thread is stories.
Yeah.
And
And learning those stories is so important. The connection that we seem to miss as the technology kind of takes over our world. It's really imperative to keep that and bring it back.
Exactly. Bring it all back. Bring it all back to the truth.
Yeah.
So I would love to just know just a little bit more about, because your work that you do, and like I just said, that I've never actually come across anybody's path or spoke to anybody that does the work that basically you do. So what is it that you do, and how is it that you got into that in the first place, Dianne?
That's a good question. So I work in health tech and in the nutraceutical world, and my North Star is to bring healing to people so that they can live their most optimistic life and thrive. And where that all started for me, I guess if I look back really far, I have a twin brother and there were 8 boys in the neighborhood. So there were no girls, and it was keep up. At first it was keep up, and then it was beat them. So there was a competitive side there. So that set me up. But then when my twin brother and I were in high school, my mom ran a department in a local hospital, and she got a rare kidney disease. And when you're connected to the hospital, when you get sick, you went to your doctor and you took drugs. That's what we knew, and that was normal.
Yeah.
And she got a rare kidney disease, and the doctors treated her with 4 or 5 different drugs, and nothing helped. And they sent her home, and they said, we can't help you. None of these drugs are working, and we don't know how long you'll live. So my mom went home. And one of my sisters, by fate, met a naturopathic doctor in a grocery store lineup. Now, this doctor had just moved to our little island that we lived on from the Philippines. She moved across the world, and she ran 2 hospital departments in 2 different hospitals. And that might be like, okay, but that was huge because those departments were always run by men. And this was in 89. So this woman was very smart. So anyway, my sister tells her about my mom, and this woman sits there and stands there, and she says very nonchalant, "I can help your mom. Might be expensive, but I could help her."
Wow.
So we didn't know natural medicine and naturopathic doctors.
Hmm.
So I was really close to my mom, and I went to the appointment with her. And I remember when we were walking out the door, my dad says, "Don't go to that quack." Because
Oh,
we were
really?
ignorant to that part of the world and that knowledge. And within 3 months, my mom's kidney disease went into remission. So I was like, huh, that's interesting.
Wow.
Yeah, she treated her with herbs and supplements. And skip ahead 4 years, my mom went in for a general checkup, and they found stage 4 cervical cancer, and
Oh,
she felt fine. So this woman had 8 kids, worked 35 years full time throughout that, and just this beautiful, beautiful human, like she was a saint. So she's still taking the products that the naturopath is recommending to her, and I'm taking them, and my twin brother's taking them. Some of
yeah.
my siblings are taking them. Some of them are like, "Nah, I'm good."
Yeah. Yeah.
But I was a believer, and so the doctors wanted her to do chemo, radiation, surgery, and 2 other things. And the
That's a
naturopathic
lot.
doctor says, "Don't do any of those things. I can help you." And again, she says it might be expensive, but I can help you. And my mom thinks about it. And this was in 93 or 94. And we didn't know what we know about cancer today. She was very brave, I think, because she said, "Okay, I won't do any of the treatments, but
Mhm.
I want to do the surgery and have it removed." So
Okay.
she did that. She lived another 28 years healthy and strong. And
Oh, wow.
so those 2 pivotal moments brought me into the world of health and kind of focused me. And I've always loved people and worked with people,
Hmm.
but there was something in that I knew was a part of my purpose. So doing a deep dive into nutraceuticals for the last 25 years, and I worked in pharma for several years, but I would leave doctors' offices and think, if only I could tell them about supplements so that they could
Hmm.
enhance the healing or use the proper supplements with the drugs to bring that healing faster, it would be a
Yeah.
perfect world. And then they wanted me to take on a drug that had some pretty serious side effects, and I was like, nope, I'm done.
Yeah.
I can't do this. And I took a leadership course out of Arizona for a year. And one day I remember my family saying, "Are you going to go back to work?" And I was like, "Yeah, yeah." And I have 3 young daughters, so loved spending time with them. But
Yeah.
one day I'm at my computer, and this ad popped up that said, "Full script, a platform where doctors can prescribe supplements instead of drugs." And I remember looking over my
You're
shoulder,
like,
and then I
the
remember
universe dropped that here.
looking for friends saying who hacked into my computer.
Yeah.
And that was yeah, I started working with that company. I contacted them immediately, and I was like, "What are you guys doing?" And I started out as employee number 35. When I left that company, I was, I think, 978. It's a wonderful, wonderful company, wonderful platform. So working with them, I was able to bring on 140 hospital systems for them, developed their enterprise division. And then when I left
Phenomenal.
that, and there's a lot of pieces in here that I'm skipping, but had a life changing moment, chapter. I don't know what I want to call that. Left full script and went into, God just kind of lit up my path. So I started advising with a medical device company that has a non-pharmaceutical, non-invasive device that treats symptoms for chronic pain, anxiety, depression, and sleeplessness. So anything, that's a long answer, Michelle, I'm sorry, but anything that
No,
can
no.
help people to
Mhm.
heal or
Mhm.
better their health along the natural, naturopathic ways really is what drives me.
Yeah, and you can see just when you're speaking about it how passionate that you
Mm.
are on this path of this, like healing people through the ways that is nothing to do with the modern medicine,
The
like that
conventional.
type of ways. Yeah, the
Yeah.
conventional way,
And,
because
and we need those ways. I mean, those are
Mhm.
good. I mean, if we're in a trauma or we lose a leg or we have a heart attack, like we still need all that. I believe in that. But
Yes.
for the everydays, like my sisters and my mom used to get really, really bad migraines. And I thought, oh, okay. And my mom had pretty bad arthritis. And I was like, I'm probably going to get those. And I remember visiting a naturopath once that all these people were talking about. And I was like, just had this calling. I was like, I need to go see this guy. And I
Mhm.
walked into his office, and he had people fly in from all over the world who had 3 months, 6 months, 9 months to live. and he would
Oh,
turn their life around. And a lot of
seriously?
them lived. So I went in, I sat down across from his desk, and he's talking away. And then he goes, "What are you doing here? You look healthy. Why are you in my office?" And I
Yeah.
said, I love health. I want to stay healthy for my whole entire life. So what do I need to know? What do you need to prescribe to me?
Right. Okay. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
yeah, he was just a lovely man. And he opened my eyes. He was like, I said, "I think I'm getting arthritis." I used to do a lot of running, and my girls were, I think at that time, 7, 5, and 3. I said, "I'm thinking I'm getting arthritis. I wake up at night and my hips and joints are so sore." And he leans across the table. He goes, "Dianne, you don't get arthritis because your mother had arthritis." And I was like, "Oh."
Oh.
He said, "Every disease we get is from the food we put in our mouth." And I was like, "Oh." So I learned from him. But just, yeah, anywhere I can learn, any courses, I'm constantly taking courses and learning, because there's so much we don't know.
So much to learn, especially when it comes to, like you said, if it's the food, and especially now, because
Yes.
it's so processed, it's so sprayed,
Yeah,
compared to what it was a long time ago.
exactly.
It's not as natural. So you need this extra supplementation or the knowledge
Yeah.
of what your body actually needs to help absorb as well. The all the things that you're kind of putting into it, because
Yeah,
sometimes if your body's out of sorts and
exactly.
you don't know that,
Yeah.
you need to kind of know how to then get that back into a regulation
Yeah.
to then get all these nutrients in, eh?
Yeah, and then, I mean, there's energy healing, and that goes back to the basics. Like, our body is energy, we are energy. So there's quantum energy devices out there. There's sound healing. There's so many aspects and traumas that we carry and internalize. And it could be something really small, where we got yelled at from a stranger, excuse me, or a teacher. And when you're shy, and I used to be very shy, I would internalize that. So any of those traumas we keep in our body as well, it takes effort to know how to release all of that too. And breath work is pretty powerful in that aspect.
Just touching on that, have you used any of these methods yourself or on anybody else? Or
I
yeah,
have. I have. Yeah.
right.
I took a really interesting course about 2 years ago. There was this woman I follow, and I do her meditation, Ziva meditation, Emily Fletcher. She's a wonderful human. And I got this email from her one day, and it described this course that she was going to start teaching. And I just had this pull that I was like,
Hmm.
I need to take that course.
Yeah.
And so I called. I had to fill out an application, and I was like, oh, I have to apply. And then I'm thinking, well, I'm pretty competitive. I was like, I need to get in.
Your
So
competitive piece.
then you go through an interview, and I was like, I'm going to be interviewed. And I was like, okay. So then I'm like, game on, game on.
Yeah. Right. Let's
Anyway,
go.
I got into the course and paid a hefty price for it. But yeah, the things that I learned in that course were pretty phenomenal, pretty phenomenal. Holotropic breath work and all the breath work. I love that one because the body will release all of this stress and trauma that's inside of it, and you don't even know what it is, but it's just getting out of your body. So I love breath work.
And what was that breath work you just called it there? What was it? The
Holotropic breath work.
holotropic.
Yeah,
And
but
what
there's several different types.
and what is that? How would you describe that compared to other
So
ones then?
there's different methods that they can do, but the one that we did in Costa Rica was 3 breaths in very quickly and 4 breaths out. But there's different counts, there's different speeds and
Yeah.
paces. It depends on who you work with. And but yeah, you can get to a point where your whole body is just kind of trembling, so it's releasing the stress. And I was always, I don't know if it was being like the youngest of 8, or what happened in school when I was coming up, and I was shy, but I was
Hmm.
always quiet. I stayed quiet. I did a lot of listening.
Yeah.
So um, when I was doing that breath work, I felt my throat completely closing over. And I was like,
Oh
okay,
wow.
I need to really focus on this, because this is going to help open up my throat chakra.
Yeah.
And it was a 45-minute session. And like at one point, there was barely any breath getting in. But when you go within
Uh-huh.
and really focus, and you want to change that and open that up, obviously it opened up, because I haven't stopped talking, Michelle.
Yeah, no, no. This is what this is all about. Please keep going. I'm just like sitting here in awe. I'm like, wow.
Yeah, it's very powerful. So I recommend people try that too. Even if you don't feel like, if you feel your life is really good,
Yeah.
it's still things like that that can help bring you to those next levels.
Oh, 100%. And sometimes you probably wouldn't even know, like you said, that you've got something trapped until you've done something like
Exactly.
that. And you come
Exactly.
out like mind
Yeah.
blown, like what just happened there? Like,
Yeah. Yeah. So
like
there's a company
wow.
I'm starting right now with a doctor, and he had chronic pain in one of his ankles for years
Mm.
and years and years. And there's biodecoding. This is another method that's really cool.
Oh, I've
And,
heard of
and this,
that, but yeah, tell me a bit
yeah.
about that.
So this woman walks up to him that does biodecoding, and she goes, "You got pain in your ankle." And he's kind of looks at her, and she said, "Do you?" I'm not remembering the exacts, but she's like, "Do you remember where you were on this date?" And it stemmed back to a guy that he was in school with. He was a pilot who died in a crash, and where he was standing at that moment. So he internalized that. The pain went into his ankle. And as soon as he came to this realization and she took him through this, the pain left within 15 minutes and it's never come back.
No way.
Yeah. Yeah.
That
There's so
is
much out
like
there for us to learn.
that is just mind blowingly like phenomenal. You would
It is.
never link something that's an event that's happened that's not out, it's like out with your control,
Yeah.
but you've taken that in and he had held that. And that
Yeah.
woman actually
And it was
pinpointing that.
40 years. 40
What
years.
years?
Yes. Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so cool.
That's just, that is, it's so freaking cool. That's
Yeah.
amazing. To imagine that 40 years and in the space of 15 minutes, it's
Yeah.
like,
I know. I know. Yeah. So powerful. Yeah. There's so much for us to discover about
oh,
ourselves. And I mean, I think it's 10 pegabytes of information in every cell that we have. Like that's
oh,
more than what we conceptualize in the whole world. So we only know 5% of our bodies. Yeah. 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 So I'm just a little peon trying to learn all these things, Michelle.
and you are, but it's like all the things that are just like wow, and all the things that we are now moving. I think as a collective, everybody is wanting to move
Yeah.
towards this a lot more. Do you know,
That's
as
right.
people are opening up to this being a possibility, whereas before it was so closed. Like I said, it was like a woo woo or whatever, and none of that stuff. It is that now it's like people
Yeah.
are opening up to this so much more now.
Yeah, people are waking up. I think for
Yeah.
many, many years, people were just sleepwalking, and there's still a lot of that. But yeah, the collective is definitely becoming more aware, and it feels like it's a bit of a tsunami wave. It's really exciting.
Yeah, absolutely. And so you touched that you were working with this doctor just now.
Hmm.
And what is it what's the project if there's something with that then?
Uh, you listen well.
I do tell, do
Yeah.
tell.
So, yeah, so I'm starting a company with a doctor, and this business will probably run it out of Washington, D.C., I think.
Oh,
But it involves a molecule for heavy metal detox, and it's a nutraceutical.
uh-huh.
There's all the heavy metal detoxes that are out there. They will bind to the heavy metal in the body, but they will not stay binded to the heavy metal until it releases from the body. So they might bind for 3 to 4 hours. And then what happens is it hasn't left the body yet. So that heavy metal will release and go somewhere else in the body and can make you even more sick than you were. So
Oh,
we all have heavy metals in our body if you eat rice, our water, our food, our environment. There's 6 billion people that have heavy metals in their body, and it affects
oh.
them differently. We have a gentleman. I was going to say I shouldn't tell this story, but I'm already into it. We have a gentleman who had his amalgams removed from his cavities. Had his cavities removed, the old ones that have a lot of mercury in them.
Mhm.
This gentleman, very successful, owns 2 companies, and he he went into psychosis. Like when they pulled all of those amalgams out of his mouth, it released more mercury that went into his brain. He had to hand over the operations of both of his companies to his COOs. So with the molecule we gave him, in 10 days, he was back to himself. So it's not only for heavy metal detox, but it's also has an antioxidant that's 100 times more powerful than NAC, glutathione, and you can take it daily your whole life. It's very safe. There's absolutely no side effects, and we've tripled and quadrupled. We did over 100 times the dose, and there's never a side effect with it. So very safe, but very, very effective. So yeah, we are not there yet, not finalized. And with all the companies I've worked with over the years, anything can happen. I've seen all kinds of really sad things happen for founders that have amazing products that should get
Mm-hmm.
to the world that fall apart. So we're not there yet, but the
Very
plans to be in
positive.
production in the summer, and yeah, anything I put my mind to, I make it happen. So really excited about this
Well,
venture.
you do obviously put your mind to it as well, because you obviously guide CEOs and founders, don't you?
Yeah,
Internationally, like, and you launch transformative companies, which is where this is where it comes from for you. And,
yeah,
and
it's I think the building the relationships through the years, and the way that I was brought up in a small country town, how you how you respond and integrate with your community is super important, and helping one another out, and just living through honesty and integrity, and living with authenticity has helped me build really great relationships. And yeah, I've been very, very blessed to be able to work with some great companies for sure.
oh, that is so exciting, and as well, it's so fascinating that that man ended up with psychosis, and then after this, it's that again quite a quick turnaround
Huge.
for that. Like,
Yeah.
that's massive. If you think about, again, like say conventional ones, you do there's a place for them,
Yeah.
but with that, within 10 days, I mean, normally if it was something else, that could take a really long time to get in the body and do its magic, and
I
this is
know.
like
Yeah. And even with supplements, right? There's
instant.
lots that people take, and it's like, I don't even know if they're working, right? But after, it depends on what you're taking. It depends. There's all kinds of things you can look at. And there's some foundational ones that everyone should be taking. I mean, 70% of our immune system is in our gut. So there's a lot around that. But yeah, absolutely massive turnaround. So our next 10-day follow-up is later this week, and excited to see where he's at for sure.
Absolutely, that is phenomenal. That's like, it's life changing, like
Yes.
literally life changing.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's kind of my mission, is to bring highly effective, impactful products to the world that
Mhm.
are really going to change people's lives and help them turn things around. So,
And no wonder you're so passionate about it. And you can just see it on your face, because this is something, and it is life changing. And to be able to help others through the knowledge that you've gained over the years, and seeing that being able to affect so many people, and that just must be an amazing feeling. It
it
must just
is.
be like,
It's
you're like, I done that. I done that. It was me. It was
well,
me.
yeah.
Everybody else on it too. Like, there was
So,
a
yeah,
team, but I done that. I'd be like, I would.
but it's not me. I mean, it's the inventor that built that product. It's the source working through me, the divine. I'm just a messenger that helps to get it out there. And yeah, I
Take the
love it.
credit. Take the credit. You're doing amazing things. Like, yeah, it's coming to you and going through you, but you're aligned to your path. You can see that. It's absolutely
Mm,
amazing.
thank you. Thank you. So I heard a story about you I want to ask. You had a birthday recently, and you
Yes, I
had a
do.
fear that one of your beautiful, brilliant daughters helped you overcome. Can you tell us all about that?
Yeah, okay, tables turning. So I've always had a fear of heights. I don't know why. And it's just one of the fears that, when you used to you'd go up like the stairs, even in like a flat, in like a stairs, a flat in a term. And it's like I'd get so far up and I'd like stick to the wall. I don't like looking over the banisters, and I've just never liked heights. So when we went to go and visit, like, say, like, we went to go and like visit a castle when the kids were younger, I'd always be like, get away from the side of the walls, don't go to, I don't know why, like, they're not going to fall off the end, but it's just always had this horrible fear of heights. So my daughter, for my 41st birthday, she had said to me, Mum, we're taking you out for your lunch today. And I thought, oh, lovely, that'll be great. Well, she had said that a few days before. And I was going up to my friends, and she was doing my hair for me that morning. And I thought, fabulous. I'm going to have my colour done and I'm going to get taken for my lunch. What a lovely treat. And then in the morning, I opened my card and she started recording me and I thought, okay, why? Like, what's in this?
Something's
What's in
up.
this card? And when I opened it up, I seen this photo and it was of a bridge. And I obviously read it. And she was like, sorry, Mum, I know you were looking forward to going for your lunch today, but you're actually going off of that bridge. And I was like, excuse me, what? I'm I'm going off the bridge. Like, wait a minute here, what do you mean? And I never had time to really think about it because I was like, right, okay, I'm going to do it. Right, okay. I thought I can't not,
My daughter's doing this. I'm going to jump off a bridge. I'm going to do this for my daughter. Yeah. I can't climb stairs, but I'm going to jump off a bridge. That sounds so
like up
perfect.
ladders and shaking at the top of the ladders. I'm like, oh my goodness. And because she had said, yeah, because she was doing it as well. So she was like, I'm doing it too, but we're doing it separately. I was like, oh, okay. So I just went and got my hair done, and before I knew it, I was in the car where driving up to Pitlochry and up in Scotland, and I was just like, oh, and my palms, when I was sweating out every orifice, what it felt like. My palms were sweating,
Yeah.
my pits were sweating, my cheeks were getting flushed. Oh, and she was like, Mum, are you okay? And I was like, I'm fine, just fine.
The stuff we do for our kids. I
I know.
love that,
I
Michelle.
know.
How did it feel?
Do you know, when we got there, it was fine. We got strapped up and we went into the minibus and we drove there to go up the bridge, and we had to climb up the ladders to get onto the bridge.
Okay.
But the platform where you were getting basically thrown off, but was you had to walk all the way along the bridge to get to the platform. So already I was up a height walking towards the platform.
You must have felt sick.
I was, honestly. I was trying to do the breath work, but very, very unsuccessfully.
The holotropic breath work was not coming through.
It wasn't. I was breathing like I was giving birth again. Like, I'm not joking. Because she was like, Mum, she kept looking back, are you okay, Mum? You're awfully quiet. And I'm like,
Michelle, that's so incredible that you did that. Unbelievable.
I know, and the guy had said to us, are you going you're going to go we think you should go first. And I was like, yeah, I'm going first, because I'm not watching her going, I just need to do this needs to be done now. Oh my goodness. And so I got obviously strapped up, but when they put you in the cage and the platform thing, they strap you up and then you have to step down off this kind of little ledge, and then you swing out, and then you're kind of with your feet out, and then the platform gets pulled away and you're just dangling.
Oh.
So that was just horrible. But when I was my breath started getting the racing and my hands started tingling, because I was probably like,
there probably wasn't enough oxygen getting into your body at this point.
Yeah, I was like, like literally, like by this point, it wasn't breathing like I was giving birth. It was panic.
Yeah.
And the guy said, like, you need to take long, deep breaths, calm yourself down. And I did. And he just said, do you want a surprise or do you want a countdown? I was like, and I went, just fucking do it. And he just pulled the cord, and away I went. And do you know, it was the most horrifying, but the most exhilarating experience I've ever had in my life. And I mean, I don't think I've overcome my fears by any shot. I don't think so, because I was up at the castle a couple of weeks ago and I was still a bit over the edge, like, oh, that's nice. But it was the most amazing experience, and I said that to my daughter. I thank you so much for making me do that, because it was an amazing experience, and I think because she'd done it on the same day, I never had time to process it. But if she had said, oh, we're doing this in a couple of weeks, I would have went, oh
yeah, not doing it, I'm out.
I would have talked myself out of it, like all the reasons why I can't do it. But it was amazing.
That's so great. And those are the things, like, that's the kind of stuff that lights me up, where we're doing things that scare us, but we know on the other side, it's going to make us a better person, or it's going to give us a better understanding. And it builds empathy and compassion for people, right? That's so important. So good for you. Good on you.
Thank you.
So cool.
High five to you.
High five. That's right.
It was, and it did, and it did make me feel like that little bit, like you say, when you overcome that fear, and sometimes it is an actual irrational fear that you have that's standing in your way, that holds you back to doing
Yeah.
something. But when you just lean into that fear, and on the other side of that, it's like I actually was like, oh, I felt like Superwoman. I was like, yay, where's my cape? I can do anything now. Do you know, if I
Exactly.
could do that, I
Yeah.
can do or anything that comes my way. And it does, and it might not fix the fear, but it makes you, like you said, realise you can rationalise it a little bit more,
Yeah.
because you know that once you move through it, it's never as bad as what you actually
Exactly.
think.
Yeah. Yeah. But that one's a big fear, I think, because it's like heights are something you can't, I don't know. There's something around it that is irrational in trying to make it rational. Right.
Yeah,
So that was big. That was really big on your part. So
it
cool.
was, but it was amazing, and I'm still so glad that she made me
You're a
do that.
badass, Michelle. A bit, actually, more than a bit. Full on.
Oh, thank you. No, I did. I felt actually proud, but I was so tired after it, because of all that adrenaline.
Yeah.
For
Yeah.
about 2 days, I was wiped out. I was absolutely knackered because of all this adrenaline that must have been pumping through my system that I've never felt as intensely before. Is that,
Plus, it probably brought you some healing. When we
yeah,
have healing going on, we get super tired as well, and that was built up for years and years, and you just kind of took it on like within a couple hours. Like, okay, great. I can't say no because it's a birthday present. Like, I'm
no,
sure the mind was trying to find a way out.
it was. And my
Um,
friend was like, "There's no way she's not going to do that. 100% not." And then when we're on our way back and I'd done it, she was like, "What? You actually did it?" I was like, "Yeah, yeah." And we went for a little drink after it, and she was like, "How did you do?" I was like, "I have no idea. I just."
so cool. Yeah.
I love that. Yeah, I love that. What you're saying, it's the healing as well. That makes sense. And there was this probably part of me that was healing inside of me. If this, I'm not capable of doing something, where
Exactly.
actually I
Yeah.
am. And there has been things that hold yourself. I can't do this and I can't do that. Can't. And
Yeah.
actually overcame that.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. And that I can't do this, or our mind tries to protect us and kind of veers us in a different direction, right? And sometimes we don't
Yeah.
even realize it. But yeah, I think anything that scares us, we need to run towards, because there's something on the
Yeah.
other side of that that's really important for us to learn. And anything that, when people ask me to be a part of something, or to join, whether it's a company or like mountain climbing or whitewater rafting, if it's a like, oh, and like that pause is like, hell yeah, yeah, bring it. So yeah, so those hesitations too, there's that we need to look into those in our lives, because there's something within that we need to
There's
discover.
something telling you, yeah, that you're either needing to work through this or push through it and go into it, lean into that. Oh, I
Exactly.
love that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
actually touching on the climbing mountains and white water rafting, is that, like, I take it, is that something that you enjoy doing? Are you quite adventurous and tend to take yourself off and do mountain climbing and
Yeah, I think so. I've always been athletic. I mean, I played basketball, golfed, kayaked, and I got into mountain climbing from an aunt. I had an aunt, have an aunt who lost her 21-year-old son to a drunk driver,
oh,
and her only son. She had had a set of twins before him, but they only lived about 3 hours. So she had a
oh,
really, really
oh,
rough
that's a
life.
tough time. That's horrendous.
And after her son passed away, I think there's over 90% of marriages that don't last when they lose a
Mhm.
child. And her husband, who she adored, he adored her. Their marriage fell apart. But even as their marriage was falling apart, they were struggling to try and stay together. And one day, she was a partner at a big corporate law firm in the country. I live in Canada, and it was international. But she said one day she went out for lunch and she was walking back to work, and there was this huge transport truck coming, and she said, "No one's going to notice if I step in front of that." And she said, I knew at that moment I needed help, and I
Mm-hmm.
knew I had to do something bigger than me. So she got into mountain climbing. And one of her trips, she was going to do Kilimanjaro in Africa. And
Oh my
I
goodness.
was, yeah, it was so cool. How old was I? I don't remember, maybe like 26 or 28. And she said, do you want to come? And I was like, hell yeah.
Did
Actually,
you seriously?
I didn't say yes to that. She said, do you want to come? We're going to climb Kilimanjaro. And I was like, I don't know. And she said, and then we're going to go on a 2-week safari. And when she said the
Never mind.
safari, I was like, I'm in.
Yeah, you've got me.
But the training for the mountain climbing, I loved that. Like I was putting a backpack on with 50 pounds in it and climbing stairs for 2 hours as part of the training. So anything
Oh,
where I'm pushing myself is where I thrive. And then there were 6 of us that did the climb, and the time that we did it, El Nino was in effect on Kili, and they were having massive rains. So the flags that you see now when people summit Kilimanjaro,
yeah.
all of that was about 8 feet under snow when we got there. They had
Oh,
so much rain and snow. So our first day, which was supposed to be really simple climb, about 3-4 hours, we were in mud, like mucky mud, up past our knees, and it took us 11 hours in our first day of the
oh,
climb. So that stage, one of our team members like, this is not for me, and she quit. She went back down. And
yeah.
then 2 of the men that were in our group, and my aunt knew everyone. I came in and met most of them on this trip. 2 of the men got very ill. One got pulmonary edema, one got cerebral edema, and they
Oh,
kept coming up to higher and higher camps, trying
mhm.
to fight it, trying to think it'll leave. They were both, they had to both be escorted down.
Mm.
And one was sick for 6 months. One was
Oh,
sick for about 12 to 15 months
oh,
before he fully
jeez.
recovered. And then Matt was a good friend of my cousin who passed away. He came. So we summited. And then my aunt, she was lagging, but these Sherpas were phenomenal. We're on this like narrow, it was probably this wide, like not quite a foot wide for the last 200-300 meters. And you had to walk out to the edge, and
Oh,
Matt and I made it. And I had, my health was good. The mountain didn't affect me. One day it did, but it didn't affect me at that point. And I ran a little bit. And I remember hearing the guide scream, "Stop running!" Like, but I just felt so good. And then I was like, oh, so I start walking again. But at that level, it was, I should know this. I think Kili was 19,000 feet, 19.5. You take 2 steps or 1 step, and then you take 3 or 4 breaths. Like it's a turtle pace because the oxygen is so low the higher you go.
oh, bloody
And your
hell.
brain cells are dying by the minute. So like people are like, why do you climb? And I was like, well,
You're like,
I don't really want to lose
brain
brain
cells are
cells, but
going and
it's
oh,
fun. So fun. Anyway, my aunt was getting more and more delirious as we were going up. So we're on this
really?
final bit, and she's got a Sherpa on each arm. They're out on the sides, like cramping, like driving their feet into the snow and ice, trying to help her get to the summit.
Oh,
They did everything. They're the most beautiful people. So then
oh,
we
that's
turn around, we're coming
amazing.
back, and you have to be off the mountain. So you climb all night, and then you have to be off it by 10:30 in the morning, because when the sun gets so strong, the glacier just turns to pure ice, and that's when
Oh,
some real accidents can happen.
oh my
So
goodness, facing the elements by like, my goodness me. It's just
so
like, this is an adventure. And I'm like,
it's like, okay, next challenge. Okay, got it. And you
I
just go with
know.
it.
It's like a good movie. Like,
Yeah. So the main guide turns to me and says, we have to get your aunt an ambulance. And I was like, okay. And I'm thinking like all of these aspects. And Matt, the other one who summited, he was spitting up blood. So the guide said to him, walk fast, get down as fast as you can. We'll meet you at camp. So he took off on his own. Actually, one of the Sherpas went with him. And
mhm.
then I said, I'll come with my aunt in the ambulance. And the guide and the lead Sherpa both turn and look at me like this. And I was like, why, what, why are they looking at me
What's
like
going
that?
on? Yeah.
So the ambulance shows up. Michelle, it's a piece of plywood, 4 pieces of rope. They slap her on the wood, tie her on, and 4 Sherpas, 1 on each corner, run with her down the mountain. Literally
Mhm.
run. So I'm standing
Wait,
there and I was
what?
like, oh, okay, so this isn't my kind of ambulance. I understand now.
Oh
So,
my goodness.
So then the Sherpa said, the guide says to me, Dianne, can you make it down to camp on your own? And I said,
well, I'm going to have to.
Is that a trick question? I'm in Africa, never been here, never mountain climbed before. And I was like, okay. He says, stick to the main path. He said, there will be paths that go off. Stick to the main path. Okay. I'd been climbing for 17 hours. And anyway, so I walked down and we came up the whiskey route. We came up the hard side of the mountain and we went down the Coca-Cola route, which is the easier route. So we're coming down the Coca-Cola route. So I'm walking for a couple of hours. I don't know how many, maybe 3 or 4. And I get to this area where there's a little cafe. There's tons of people and everybody's buying Coke. Coke is a big marketing. And I saw a little stone wall beside this cafe. And I thought, I'm just going to sit for a minute. So I sit on this little ledge. It's stone. And there's stone here and the cafe's over here. And I sit for a minute on this edge. And I was like, and I'm so tired. I'm just looking at people. And I was like, I'm just going to lay down for a sec. So I lay on this little ledge. And I put my hand down on the ground. My right hand is on the ground, just kind of feeling the edge. And then I was like, oh, I wonder what's on this side, because I hadn't looked over what's on the other side of the ledge. It was a drop off of about 1,000 feet.
Oh my God.
And I remember thinking, oh, I shouldn't lay here. And then I just passed out, fell asleep.
Oh, you're making my fear of heights even worse here.
And I remember kind of waking up and I was like, hand is on the stone. Okay. And I just rolled off. That's how tired I was. But yeah, the universe wanted me around for a bit longer, Michelle. So
you had more projects and more things to do.
Yeah.
You weren't to be defeated by Kilimanjaro.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
It was awesome. And then a few years later, I did Aconcagua in Argentina. That was such a brutal beast. It was so dry. It felt taller than Everest. And we hired one of the best guide groups in the country that was recommended to us. And they ended up stealing all of our gear. And my aunt and uncle came on that trip as well. And I took a brother and his fiance, his wife now. And my aunt and uncle almost died on that mountain. The experiences of life are just pure magic. So
that is just, I can't believe that. They stole your stuff.
Yeah. We had, at camp before we summited, there was a dentist that came in from Brazil. And he was a lovely man, young guy. And he said, could I have dinner with you guys? And we were like, absolutely. So we told our guides, this person's going to join us for dinner. Just put it on our bill. And he sat between me and someone else in our group. And then all the guides were up at the left end of the table. And they were speaking Spanish. And we didn't understand it. And they were laughing and going on. And I remember looking at this guy several times, and he looked really uneasy. And then I could sense there's something going on here. And I could feel an energy from the group that they certainly were not my African guides in any way. But at one point I kind of turned my shoulders, and I said, there's something not right. And he looked at them and he looked at me, because he was from that part of the world. And he said, you need to be very, very careful. Oh. And he felt uneasy. And I was like, I understand. But I had no idea how bad it was. So my aunt and uncle, they were calling them. They were calling them so out of shape and useless, and they shouldn't be on a mountain. And my aunt and uncle were like, I don't feel safe. This isn't right. And they said, we're going down. And the guides were like, fine, go. And it's tricky because it's so dry. Like, you don't even know if you're on the trail, right? You need someone. They got lost on the mountain, and I said to the lead twice, I said, did my aunt and uncle make it back down to the hotel? Oh yeah, they're there. And I said, well, how do you know? He said, yeah, I already checked with the hotel.
Oh my God.
I believed him. And then 3 days later, when we got back to the hotel, my aunt told me, We were on the mountain for 3 days. We almost died. We didn't sleep. We just kept walking in circles so that we wouldn't freeze to death. So,
Oh, that must have been an absolute horrendous. What an experience.
yeah, it was.
Did that put them off doing anything like that again, or have they like done that again? Is
Uh,
that a fear
was
that
that
again they
their
over?
last climb? That might have been their last climb.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I think it was.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, the stories I was not expecting to. Oh, when I said, oh, so I've heard you like a little bit of mountain climbing. Well, that was it.
Oh. And then the whitewater rafting, I did class 4 whitewater rapids in Nepal this past November, and that was my first time ever whitewater rafting. I mean, I grew up on the water. In my brothers and dad were fishermen, are fishermen. So put me in a fishing boat or put me in a speed boat through some water skis, I'm there. But yeah, my first time rafting and class 4s, and I was like, can I do this? So I called. I knew the lady that was taking the group, and I didn't know anyone. It was 5 other women from around North America, and it was so fun. But we were in, like, there was 6-foot drops, and I was thriving. I loved it.
Total adrenaline junkie. You're like, yes, this is, I feel alive.
But
Yeah,
yeah,
it in the air.
cool. So cool. And just to be in different parts of the world and meet different people. The people of Nepal were just absolutely heartwarming, heart opening. It's funny. So with the main guide for that group, Manny, we would walk through villages. So we're on the Karnali River. So we take a plane from Kathmandu up west. We plunk down. We're 2 weeks on the water. So every night we would sleep on these pristine white beaches that were heavenly. And you can just hear the river flowing so rapidly. And we had 9 guides. He had 9 guides with him. His 2 main leads were from India, and they cooked us gourmet breakfasts, lunches, and dinners every night. And we would unpack the boats. Like, there was heavy stuff, but there was a big load of us. But yeah, it was so cool. And we'd go into these villages, and Manny would just walk in people's homes, these huts, and I'd stand outside, and he'd say, "Come on in." And I was like, "I'm a white girl. I'm a white girl." And number one, I was like, "I don't know them." And I was like, "Manny, do you know these people?" He goes, "No." "Come on in." If you didn't walk in their homes, they would get offended.
Seriously?
They would get offended. That's how open they are and loving. Yeah, it was just such a breath of fresh air, and just reconnecting me to what this world is really all about. Yeah.
And that's really special because, I mean, goodness, just could imagine a stranger just walking in your house.
Well, I said, okay, if you go to America, there's guns when you walk in someone's door. In Canada, we might not be so welcome. But yeah, I know, just so different, so different.
So different. But it's, like you said, it's a breath of fresh air that this is how some societies and places actually live.
Yeah. Yeah, like it's that community thing, kind of back to where I grew up. We never locked our door. You always welcomed anyone in. People visited all the time, and we've just all gotten to these secluded modes. Like last night, I had a neighbor and her family come over, and even after 20 minutes, I was like, why don't we do more of this? But I, for one, I work so much, or I'm doing busy stuff with my girls. But that connection and being with people is so critical.
And do you know what I'd love at some point? And it probably is a long way from probably where we are now in our cultures, but wouldn't it be nice to kind of bring some of that back in some way?
100%.
Because it is, and I don't know if the whole COVID, with people being kind of more in their own houses and their own spaces and keeping that distance, if that created a little bit more of that ripple effect where people were quite happy to be by themselves.
Yeah. Yeah,
and
it's from one extreme to the other, right? Where we were all out and about, and then completely secluded, and it opened up a bit, but it still hasn't come back. And I think building community is absolutely critical, because loneliness is an epidemic, and it's also a disease now. And when I talk to people that say they're really lonely or they're really sad, my first comment is do something for someone else and it will fulfill you. It will make your heart feel full and warm. And but it's hard for people to do that, I think. When you come from a family of 8 kids, like there's 52 people in my immediate family, right? And are in my extended family. Yeah, just with my siblings and their spouses and the kids,
Yeah.
there's 52 of us. We might be at 54 now, actually.
Wow, that's a massive
I hope they don't
family.
see this and I've miscounted. I might dropped a kid. Um, but but yeah, it's when you're used to that. I remember my ex-husband, the first time I brought him to the house, after we left, he's like, I don't know if I can do this. And I was like, what are you talking about? This is fun.
Yeah, it's like this is intense. There's so
Yeah.
many people. I'm like,
This is a community in itself.
yeah, literally, literally.
So yeah.
But that's special because that is, and like you said, and it's special that people are trying to create communities now. Whether that be meetups or something that's trying to pull people into doing something,
Yeah.
or retreats or anything. Whereas a lot of women could be working too much, kids commitments, and they're not getting to see each other in that same space.
Yeah.
And so it's really important that this type of community comes
Yeah.
into place. And
Yeah.
it
And
is.
I think so there was a time, so the last 10 years of my marriage, they were a real struggle. And I grew up in strong marriages, my parents, my grandparents, and I just thought, okay, well, I just have to do other things and make this work. And I did that for 10 years. And there's, as strong women, and we've talked about this, as it always blows me away how strong women put up with so much and just keep going and try to make it work. Whereas, we sometimes, I don't know, in hindsight, lessons are always great, right? But sometimes it's just like, you know what, this does not work. So don't abuse yourself and let other people abuse you, whether it's mentally, emotionally, physically, for the next 15, 20 years, so you can try and make it work. Like we need to smarten up and know that we're worthy. But for 10 years, I was trying to make it work. And at one point, I thought, okay, I'm going to focus on my girls and other women, and everything will be okay. So I took fitness training courses, and I was teaching kickboxing and boot camp classes at 6 a.m. to executive women, and then I'd work all day. And then I was coaching 2 under 17 girls basketball teams at night, and then driving my girls to all their activities.
Oh my goodness, busy blooming.
Not sustainable.
Yeah,
but
burnout, here I come.
super fulfilling because I was helping all these women and these young girls. I remember at one of the girls' practices one night, these girls were hungry to learn, and I loved filling women up. And I was like, okay, girls, and they're leaning in, and we're doing some pretty intense exercises where most of them are complaining. I was like, your body loves this. And they loved me, but they were kind of scared of me at the same time.
Yeah.
So they all come in at the end, and I was like, girls, I need you to know you need to believe in yourself. As you go through this world, it's so important that you believe in yourself and that you know you're worthy. And they're kind of all like, why is she saying this? Like 16 years old. And I said, I'm going to give you one piece of advice today, just one. And they're all kind of like, oh yeah. And one of my daughters is on the team, and she's like, oh no.
Your mum goes.
And I was like, if you all have a bathroom scale at home, I want you to throw it out.
Yes.
If your parents love it, throw it out. Tell them to put it somewhere you never see it again. I said, that's the best thing you can do for your body. And those girls still reach out to me on Instagram or through the girls, and they'll say, how's your mom? I really loved, like, she changed so many things. So that was really cool. Anyway, that went on for a few years. Absolutely loved it. But God had, it's like, no, you're still not paying attention. And I had my first COVID vaccine and got this really intense headache for about 5 days. And because I don't do drugs, and I thought, I don't think I think it anymore, but thought I was indestructible. I was like, it'll go away. So I started taking extra strength Tylenol and Advil, and it wasn't touching it. So at day 5, I call my doc and I say, I have this headache from hell. Like I'm barely getting through meetings and I'm going to sit in a chair or lay down on the couch until my next meeting. What is it? She goes, you may have blood clots from the vaccine. You need to go to the ER immediately. I was like, oh. And she said, wait. She said, take 2 baby aspirin and then go to the ER. And I was like, okay. My husband at the time had baby aspirin. So I take 2 baby aspirin, throw them in my mouth. The headache went away within 10 minutes with 2 baby aspirin. Advil, Tylenol wasn't. And I was like, what? And then I was like, I feel really good. I'm going to work.
You did not.
I worked the rest of the
Did you
day.
not go to the hospital? Oh my goodness, women.
I was like, I'm better. I was doing so much. I was like, there's no way there's anything wrong with me. So the next morning I wake up and the headache is back. So off I go to the ER. They do tests all day. I think I got there at 8. 4:30, the doctor calls me over and he says, Dianne, you don't have any blood clots. And I was like, excellent. I said, what is this and how do we get rid of it? He said, I'm going to give you, I think he gave me, it doesn't matter what he gave me, but he gave me something. He said, there's no blood clots, but we found a brain tumor. And he said it so nonchalantly, like, do you want a cup of tea with your biscuit? And I started to laugh. And I said, well, that's a left turn. I said, Doc, that can't be possible. There's no way I have a brain tumor because up until these 5 days ago when I got this vaccine, I was great. So for the next year and a half, I did all kinds of tests but walking out of the hospital that day, and he signed maybe 5 or 6 papers. He handed them to me and he said, someone will be in touch. And that was like a 5-10 minute encounter. And I'm walking out of the hospital. And as I'm walking out of the hospital, I hear this voice, and I've heard this voice at least a handful of times in my life, maybe a bit more. And it said, are you going to pay attention now?
Oh, wow.
And
oh, wow.
I knew exactly what it meant. And I said, yes, I'm going to pay attention now. So 3 days after that, without any planning, without looking at any books or finances, I walked in the house one morning after teaching kickboxing, and I walked up to my husband in the kitchen and I said, I can't do this anymore. I want someone who wants to be with me, and I want out. And I had tried for years. And 3 days after that, he had a massive heart attack, and he lived. And I stayed for another 8 months to help him heal and get back on his feet.
While you had been diagnosed and having a breach.
Yeah.
Oh my.
Yes.
Oh my.
Yeah,
God.
that's another one of those things we do as women.
Yeah, like I'm going through this, but I'm going to stay and I'll help you. Whoa.
Yeah. Yeah. And you never know people until they're put in a pinch, right? Kind of like you never know what people are like until they've run out of money. Yeah, he blamed me. Initially, he said, I'm really sorry. This is all my fault. And it's never all one person's fault. It takes 2 people.
Okay.
But a lot of it was his fault. And he knew that. And and then he changed his mind. And he said, no one leaves a 20-year marriage unless they're having an affair.
Oh, for sure.
And I said, you know what? I said, I've been completely loyal to you, and I've asked you to change and get help for a long time, and you haven't done that. And what you and I talked about earlier too, Michelle, where when a woman says she's done, like we will put up with so much. Yeah. We're done, and I was done. And then he got to the point where, well, you owe me marriage counseling. And I was like, number one, I owe you nothing.
Yes.
Because it's people's actions. It's not their words. Like, and he would tell me that, and I feel like I'm trying to justify this still, which is really funny. Yeah. So I knew that I deserved more. I knew there was a bigger purpose for me, and being told that I had that brain tumor was the universe's way. Yeah. It's time to change the path, girl, and make things.
That defining moment of something astronomical, life or death situation could be happening for you. That's life changing. Yeah. And if you're not fully fulfilled, happy, and going through things, then life isn't a just rehearsal.
All it takes is support, right? If someone is there to support you and listen to you, and there's so much unhappiness in our world and marriages today, and if people can just like throw away the phones. I have a friend who told me this, what he does with his wife, and I love this concept. Anytime they get in a fight, they go to the bedroom, take off all their clothes, and they just sit in front of each other and talk it out. And I said, but why do you do that? He said, you can't hide behind anything. Like if you're sitting in a living room or you're sitting somewhere, you've got even clothes, you can hide behind things. And I love that concept. So yeah, just getting back into that connection with our partners
Yeah.
is really important.
Absolutely, and it's that vulnerability, like this, you're saying they're doing that. It's actually being able to say, I'm quite happy to be vulnerable with you, and
Yeah.
that's it. Take everything else away, and let's actually
Yeah.
fix it.
That vulnerability
Communication.
is so courageous and shows so much strength that people don't give it credit for.
No, absolutely. Wow, that's amazing. Yeah, and it is. I think, like you said, the phones and distractions can be quite a hard thing to navigate now, because it's opened a world. I mean, look what we're doing now. So many possibilities, but at the same time,
Yeah.
it can serve as a distraction. And like you said, not get back to that essence of, instead of there being a problem, let's look inside and let's fix it vulnerably.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, I love you, girl. I love what you're doing so much.
Yeah. I love you too. Your story. I'm honestly, see, when we watch this back, you're just going to see my mouth going, like,
Well, the bridge jumping is so friggin' cool. So
well,
it's huge.
I
Like
feel
when
like
you're
that
saying
is.
life and death, I was picturing you with them pulling that platform back and you're just hanging there on the rope. It's like, okay, I'm
This is
ready.
my time. This is my time.
This was life and death.
Nice.
Yeah. Yeah. So what's our message to the world? Go out and do stuff that scares you and connect
Yeah.
with people at a
Yeah.
deeper level.
Absolutely. Connect with people at a deeper level and do the things that scare you, and just lean into that
Yeah.
a little bit more. And don't be scared of yourself,
Yeah.
because there's so many layers that we're learning of our own self along the way in our
Yeah.
journey.
Yeah, and know that you're worthy. Know that you are valued. And first and foremost, you have to believe in that in yourself so that other people can treat you the same.
Exactly. That's it. Knowing your own self-worth. Yes, absolutely. Love that. What an amazing conversation.
It was.
Can't believe,
Yeah, we
can't
need
believe
this
all
in
this.
person. Are you going to so the book we're co-authoring, are you going to Dublin?
Yeah, well, I haven't booked the flights yet, but I would like to be going to Dublin. Yeah, Are you going to Dublin?
No,
No.
I have a daughter graduating from high school. So, and her prom is that week. So I'm missing Dublin, but I'll be at the next one. I
Yeah,
think we're
because
next month, July. Are we in Germany?
I
We'll
think
find out.
so.
We should know that. Marco will not be happy that we don't know
Yeah.
that.
Is it? It's somewhere like that. It's a
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
So, but yeah, and then after that, I think it's going to be Edinburgh.
Oh, I'm
So this
coming.
will be
I'm coming.
in August. Yes, I think it should
Okay.
be about then, when the
I'll be
festival's
coming.
on. So
So good.
yes, amazing. Oh, thank you so much for coming on. Honestly, it's been enlightening, and I've loved having this amazing conversation with you.
I loved it too, Michelle. Thank you for having me.
Oh, you're
It's
welcome.
been such a treat, and just spending time with you. It's it's such a wonderful thing that you're doing, and I know, like, when we look at the big scheme of the world, we
Hmm.
think, well, it's not making a difference. Like, that's what I think sometimes.
Hmm.
This is making a huge difference and a huge impact, and I hope the world gets to see your podcast very, very soon, because you really are an inspiration. And we didn't even get to talk about your story, so maybe we need to do another podcast where I get to interview you, and that could be your top podcast so people know who they're coming to see. But you've got an
Yeah.
incredible story to tell, and you're a warrior, just a sovereign being, and I feel really honored to know you and get to be a part of your life.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. That's so lovely. Thank you. And yes, we will have a part two, because the story of our life and things as we're going to be going through are going to be evolving and changing. So there's going to be a part two, because we'll be like, so did that company with the molecule See, there's a new
What's
story
next?
unfolding. Then the book, your actual story is going to be your chapter in that story is coming, you know. So,
Yeah.
yes, there's going to be so
Hopefully.
much more to speak about soon.
Sounds good. I love it. Well, thank you so much, Michelle.
Thank you so, so much. It's been special. And if anybody would like to reach out to you, are you happy to share? Would you want me to tag
Yeah,
anything?
tag my Instagram for now. I'm getting my website worked over, so Instagram's probably best.
Okay, perfect. I will share that for anybody to reach out to you if they've got any questions on anything that you've spoken about today or just want to follow you because you're an absolute badass and you're just beautiful.
Right back at you, babe. Thank you so much.
Take care.
Take
Thank
care.
you.
Bye.
Bye.